Chapter 1836 each shows his, or her, special powers. On the battlefield filled with artillery fire, human soldiers roared, as if they knew they would surely die today, so they launched the last charge of their lives. The army made of flesh and blood rushed towards the battlefield like ants, hidden under the long-range bombardment of various new weapons. And ahead of them, waiting were mechanical life forms numbering as high as 100,000. They were also waiting for this battle, or rather, the instructions they received were not fully activated until this moment. The missiles, dragging blazing flames, drew perfect and cruel arcs in the sky and descended mercilessly on the land. Under the influence of the reaction force field, the defense field of the mechanical life form was greatly weakened. The huge fan-shaped lineup of instruments and equipment was like hundreds of huge loudspeakers, emitting an invisible energy field. The mechanical life forms were subjected to ruthless bombing and were destroyed one after another, but they still formed walls without any fear and tightly blocked Chernobyl. The command center transmitted the situation on the battlefield to Zhang Yi and others in real time. They could clearly see that those mechanical life forms did not choose to take the initiative to attack when faced with human attacks. Instead, they quickly gathered into huge walls one after another, keeping them out. They're buying time. They must be carrying out some very important operation, Zhang Yi said with a frown. Then break through their army formation. We must not let them do whatever they want. Aliyev was at the command center, slamming the table hard, fire at full power. The flames of war engulfed the entire land, and the terrifying energy fluctuations forced even Epsilon-level mutants to retreat 3 feet. Human soldiers charged onto the battlefield, using their flesh and blood to carve out a bloody passage. Various modern new weapons can pose a considerable threat to those iron bumps. However, the real killer is still the aliens who possess powerful abilities or are armed with modern weapons. Krufa's troops, Fremon's first class Inhuman army, turned into a sharp knife and attacked the Mechanical Legion's formation directly from the front. Zhang Yi, Morana, and others are still waiting. As agreed, they would launch the attack after the carpet bombing. Fremon's artillery corps and missile units were responsible for the first round of attack, but the most critical point still lay with them. Next to Zhang Yi, the white dog Brian suddenly sniffed, and his expression became serious. I smell danger. Zhang Yi and a few others looked at it. A dog's nose is always more sensitive than a human's. What did you find? King Arthur asked. Brian narrowed his eyes and looked towards the central area of Chernobyl. There, something powerful and terrifying is about to appear. Zhang Yi crossed his arms and looked at Brian to confirm again and again. If you want to make a joke, please change the time. Don't joke about this kind of thing. So, are you serious? It's no wonder Zhang Yi thinks too much. This dog is really too nonsensical. Its Colombian humor often makes Zhang Yi speechless. When Brian heard his words being questioned, he immediately slapped his chest with his paw in anger. Oh, damn it! You actually doubted Brian Griffin's judgment. This is an unforgivable crime. I can guarantee that there is some unspeakable secret hidden there. Moreover, its face had never been so serious as it was at this moment. I think we must solve this problem as soon as possible. Dogs have very sharp intuition. Even if Brian didn't say it, everyone knew that there was something very dangerous there. But its words forced everyone to speed up the pace of attack. The bombing in the sky is still going on, but some people can no longer sit still. Stop wasting time. Indra walked barefoot on the ground, alone among all the people. Even though many Epsilon-class mutants have strong physiques and can withstand extreme cold of -100 degrees, they still feel speechless when they have to bare their upper bodies and soles of their feet. If it were Zhang Yi, he would never do this. He could not tolerate even if only a portion of the calories were consumed to resist the cold. Emperor Shirtian looked at the leaders of the world's top forces present and said, "Should we go? We really can't waste any time. We'd better end this battle quickly." The person who responded to him was Saladin, the emperor of the Khotun Empire. He was covered in a noble black robe, and unlike the others, he did not have any subordinates with him. Zhang Yi guessed that he probably possessed a spatial ability similar to Mu Yan's and could carry people with him. Otherwise, only a fool would come to such a dangerous battlefield alone. Everyone, Saladin walked forward slowly and stood at the front of the crowd. Let me open a path for you. As soon as Saladin finished speaking, the sky suddenly became gloomy. Thick dark clouds gathered above the mechanical legion. The clouds became thicker and thicker, and it was as dark as a large black curtain covering the sky. Saladin's tall and thin body stood in front of the crowd. The wind blew, and the wind surged from his body, blowing his luxurious black robe. He opened his arms and looked up at the sky, like a huge black eagle. The next moment, he opened his mouth slowly, muttering something in a low voice. A thick black smoke emerged from his body and rushed straight into the sky. Saladin's body slowly dissipated, and along with the black smoke, it flew into the sky and merged into the huge black cloud. Everyone was watching this scene intently. When the abilities of Bishop Bai's level of extraordinary people were fully exerted on the battlefield, it gave people a thrilling feeling. A moment later, Zhang Yi saw that the huge black cloud in the sky had changed. The black cloud turned into a huge face, the face of Saladin. The face looked down at everything on the earth below and suddenly opened its mouth slowly, as eye-catching as a crack in the sky. The crack in the black cloud was dazzling white, emitting heart-pounding energy fluctuations. In the black clouds, terrifying thunder condensed, and the white thunder appeared in Saladin's mouth. Roar! Zhang Yi and others heard a long, deep and distant cry. The sound was so loud that it spread throughout the entire battlefield. Zhang Yi guessed that he probably possessed a spatial ability similar to Mu Yan's and could carry people with him. Otherwise, only a fool would come to such a dangerous battlefield alone. Everyone, Saladin walked forward slowly and stood at the front of the crowd. Let me open a path for you. As soon as Saladin finished speaking, the sky suddenly became gloomy. Thick dark clouds gathered above the mechanical legion. The clouds became thicker and thicker, and it was as dark as a large black curtain covering the sky. Saladin's tall and thin body stood in front of the crowd. The wind blew, and the wind surged from his body, blowing his luxurious black robe. He opened his arms and looked up at the sky, like a huge black eagle. The next moment, he opened his mouth slowly, muttering something in a low voice. A thick black smoke emerged from his body and rushed straight into the sky. Saladin's body slowly dissipated, and along with the black smoke, it flew into the sky and merged into the huge black cloud. Everyone was watching this scene intently. When the abilities of Bishop Bai's level of extraordinary people were fully exerted on the battlefield, it gave people a thrilling feeling. A moment later, Zhang Yi saw that the huge black cloud in the sky had changed. The black cloud turned into a huge face, the face of Saladin. The face looked down at everything on the earth below and suddenly opened its mouth slowly, as eye-catching as a crack in the sky. The crack in the black cloud was dazzling white, emitting heart-pounding energy fluctuations. In the black clouds, terrifying thunder condensed, and the white thunder appeared in Saladin's mouth. Roar! Zhang Yi and others heard a long, deep and distant cry. The sound was so loud that it spread throughout the entire battlefield. How big is it? It seems to be 10 times bigger than Zhang Yi himself. The reason why a large sniper rifle is needed is simply because the meta-energy cannon shells are very large and require a longer and thicker barrel to dissipate heat. The city defense sniper created by Xinlian is more powerful than the one used in the defense of Tianhai City. Zhang Yi stood behind the sniper rifle and used the equipment of the intelligence system and the satellite equipment provided by Fremons to take aim. In fact, aiming is only to avoid accidentally hurting friendly forces. Because those super-large mechanical life forms are like hills, they are very obvious targets when viewed from a high place. Zhang Yi loaded the city defense sniper with bullets, which were powered by the purest elemental matter, and the warheads were made of some E-metal. This is the most powerful sniper rifle and armor-piercing bullet in the world today. While other aliens were still struggling to tear apart the battle lines, Zhang Yi locked onto a super-large mechanical life form and pulled the trigger hard. King Arthur and others are still fighting on the front line. If they want to quickly destroy the entire mechanical army, they must deal with the hundreds of thousands of mechanical life forms on the battlefield ahead. Although they are all mass-produced machines and cannon fodder in a broad sense, they are actually not easy to clean up. And, at this moment, a shocking sound came from behind. Then a black light passed through the entire battlefield and accurately shot towards the body of a super-large mechanical life form. The super-large mechanical life form reacted very quickly, and the round shield-shaped defense force field was instantly activated. But the moment it came into contact with the black light, it shattered. Boom! An extremely hard and huge bullet, perhaps it would be more appropriate to describe it as a cannonball, actually shot into the extremely tough body of the super-large mechanical life form and then exploded with a loud bang. A thick black smoke floated out from its trunk. The mountain-like body froze for a moment, then fell to the ground with a bang. When King Arthur, Emperor Shirtion, and others saw this, a hint of surprise flashed in their eyes, and then they subconsciously turned around to look in the direction of Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi was standing on a commanding height, slowly loading the ammunition for the second time. That guy, is he so strong? Even King Arthur was somewhat surprised. He can also destroy super-large mechanical life forms, but it is probably not easy to solve the problem so easily. Indra's expression changed, but he didn't say anything. He gritted his teeth and continued to vent his anger on those mechanical life forms. Perhaps no one here knows how strong Zhang Yi is better than him. Even though he had anticipated everything, he still lost 6 times in a row in his duels with Zhang Yi. This was something that was totally unimaginable in the past. There was one fact he was unwilling to admit. The fact that he could lose in such a situation only shows that there was an absolute gap in strength between him and Zhang Yi. Among the crowd, there was one person who saw Zhang Yi's amazing results but was not too surprised. That is Gao Chongkong. He looked at the super-large mechanical life form that was slowly collapsing and just lowered his head and smiled faintly. This guy is still the same. Zhang Yi has always been an expert with guns. As a top-level user of dual space and time abilities, his sniping skills are unique in the world. So most of the time, Zhang Yi who appears on the front battlefield is not the most terrifying one. The assassination of Zhang Yi is the most terrifying. With the entry of a large number of inhuman teams, the advantages of the human side began to become apparent. This is no longer the early stages of the war. They all understand how to deal with mechanical life forms, so the casualty ratio has been greatly reduced. Even the most difficult super-large mechanical life forms can be dealt with. A coalition that has gathered almost all of the world's most powerful forces should demonstrate just this kind of strength. At this time, at a certain space node deep in Chernobyl, the ceremony of the six-winged king was still going on. The black light in his hand formed extremely complex strings of characters, dancing wildly in his palm, as if trying to completely open this space node. The city defense sniper in Zhang Yi's hand kept firing. Fighting against the mechanical civilization till now has benefited him a lot. In particular, Liu Karen's mechanical technology has also been greatly improved. For example, the divine refining in his hand has now been incorporated with the cutting-edge technology of the mechanical civilization's demon body. Therefore, he can easily destroy one demon machine after another. At this moment, Zhang Yi even had a feeling. Although considering the amount of superpowers in the body and the characteristics of his space-time attributes, the superpower index is judged to be around 30,000 points. But once he has completely mastered the technological means of the demon god machine and integrated it into his own armament, he will be able to deal with even a powerful existence of 40,000 points. Science is the primary productive force. This statement will still be relevant even at the end of the world. No wonder mechanical civilization has taken this path. Boom! Another super-large mechanical life form fell under Zhang Yi's sniper attack. Although they were prepared, they were helpless because Zhang Yi was using the technology of a higher-level demon god that was more advanced than theirs. Nowadays, even the defensive force field of the upper demon god has been thoroughly studied by Liu Karen, let alone these mechanical life forms. After one battle, More than half of the super-large mechanical life forms on the entire battlefield were destroyed by Zhang Yi. This made Indra grit his teeth after seeing this. Although he is now a member of the coalition forces, he hopes to break through the enemy's formation as soon as possible. But according to the agreement, they will each collect the spoils of war. In other words, those extremely precious super-large mechanical life forms will fall into Zhang Yi's pocket. Indra's eyes were slightly red. However, his abilities are indeed limited when faced with inorganic matter that has no biological reaction. So after fighting for a long time, I only managed to solve one problem. Not only Indra, everyone else also felt something strange. But thinking that the things these mechanical life forms were trying so hard to protect must be of greater value, they temporarily suppressed their jealousy. Terrible flames of war broke out everywhere on the battlefield. Deng Shintong, Fatty Su, and others also came out and began to follow Zhang Yi's instructions, bypassing the super-large mechanical life forms and specifically picking up mass-produced machines. Call. A beautiful arc was drawn in the sky, attracting many people's attention. When they saw clearly what it was, some people exclaimed in surprise. Mecha. That's a mecha. Lu Qian drove a small snow owl mecha and roamed across the battlefield. Why not a big one? Firstly, it is unnecessary, and secondly, Zhang Yi will feel the pain. Needless to say, every time this thing is deployed, the energy consumed is enormous, and even the repair of combat damage is a huge resource. So Zhang Yi's attitude is very clear: the giant snowy owl will not be deployed unless necessary. The appearance of the mecha became a bright color on the battlefield, but everyone just took a look at it and then focused their attention on the enemy in front of them. The manufacturing of mechas is very complicated, and the cost-effectiveness is not very high because it is difficult to systematically train mecha pilots. It is much more difficult to control than a fighter jet. So, even if people saw this thing appear, they didn't care at first. Countries around the world have been researching mechas for a long time, so why haven't they appeared on the battlefield to this day? It's just not practical. The same amount of materials can be used to build many fighter jets or tanks. But soon, the performance of the snowy owl on the battlefield shocked the top management of Fremons. That kind of extremely high speed of movement and flexibility of action are simply unmatched by any modern fighter jets or tanks. It was originally thought that this kind of small mecha was built just out of the personal hobby of the maker, but Liu Karen drove the snow owl and slaughtered the life forms of the mechanical army on the battlefield like a god of death. Its dancing posture is so graceful. When it flies in the air, it really looks like a snowy owl, swift and sharp. The large amount of ammunition it carries with it blooms like fireworks on the battlefield. The element, material high-energy explosives developed by Liu Qian himself, saves the trouble of carrying. Small missiles of the same size are hundreds of times more powerful than gunpowder missiles of the previous era. It is more agile than a fighter jet in the air and can even hover in the air. It can also land on the ground and draw its sword for close combat. Gradually, when people discovered that the white owl was on the battlefield, the effect it played was no less than that of the Black Chariot class Ypsilon in Human, and the way they looked at it changed. This is simply a killing machine specially designed for use on the battlefield. Is this the secret weapon of Huaxi country? Many people murmured in low voices. Could it be that they have already acquired the science and technology of mechanical civilization? Some people also had such a guess, and their eyes turned more enthusiastically towards those super-large mechanical life forms. They didn't know that this was an advanced mecha built entirely by Liu Karen's own abilities. In this world, geniuses like her are extremely rare. It is even less likely that a genius will find a capable mentor to train him. Therefore, there won't be many Yang Xinxin and Liu Karen in this world. There will be more corpses buried in the ice and snow. Liu Karen was lucky enough to meet Zhang Yi, who gave her unlimited resources and even allowed her to break through the limitations of her life level and grow into an Ypsilon-level mutant. At this moment, she is completely in a state of integration of man and machine, and void transformation allows her to control the mecha as freely as controlling her own body. Seeing Liu Karen working so hard to kill the enemy, Liang Yu took a deep breath, clenched his sword with both hands, and murmured, "I should work hard too." Otherwise, I might be surpassed by a mechanical engineer on the battlefield. The two knives in her hands were brand new weapons made for her by Liu Karen, Dragon Roar, and Phoenix Dance. Dear viewers, please like and subscribe if not already. Thanks.